The storm over Seoul that night was merciless, rain lashing the glass walls of Lotte World Tower like 1,000 angry fingers desperate to get inside. Yanique Song stepped out of the taxi, her long wool coat clinging to every curve as water streamed down her deep brown skin. She tilted her umbrella against the wind, heels clicking sharply on the wet marble of the hotel entrance, dark eyes scanning the opulent lobby with the quiet confidence of a woman who had fought for every inch of her success. Jet lag tugged at her body after the long flight from Kingston via Tokyo, but adrenaline kept her sharp. This tech merger conference could change everything for her family's company, and she would not let exhaustion steal her edge. At the concierge desk, the clerk's face tightened with apology. "Miss Song, there has been an unfortunate system error due to the storm. The presidential penthouse was double booked. The other guest has already checked in." Yanique arched one perfectly sculpted brow, lips parting in disbelief. Before she could unleash the fire building in her chest, a deep, controlled voice cut through the hum of the lobby. "I can take another suite," she turned. Beom-seok Hwang stood just behind her, tall and impossibly composed in a charcoal overcoat that did little to hide the powerful lines of his body. His dark hair was slicked back from the rain, a single strand falling rebelliously over his forehead. His eyes, sharp and unreadable, locked onto hers with an intensity that made the air between them spark. For a moment, the storm outside faded. Yanique felt heat coil low in her belly. "Unexpected, unwelcome, undeniable," the clerk stammered. "Sir, madam, every other room is occupied because of the conference. The penthouse has 2 separate master bedrooms, private entrances, full privacy." Beom-seok's gaze never left Yanique's face, as if silently asking whether she trusted herself to share 70 floors of luxury with a stranger. She lifted her chin, voice smooth as aged rum. "I'm not afraid of a little company." His lips curved, the barest hint of amusement or challenge. "Then neither am I." The glass elevator shot upward, city lights blurring into streaks of gold and crimson. Thunder rumbled, lightning flashing white across their reflections in the mirrored walls. Yanique felt his stare, tracing the line of her throat, the swell beneath her damp coat. She refused to shift, refused to give him the satisfaction, but her pulse betrayed her, racing beneath her skin. When the doors slid open on the top floor, the wind howled through the private foyer like a warning. The penthouse was breathtaking, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the Han River glittering far below, rain streaking the glass in silver rivers. 2 separate wings branched off the central living area, each with its own king bedroom, marble bath, and panoramic view. Yanique claimed the larger one without asking, dropping her suitcase and peeling off her soaked coat. The silk blouse beneath clung transparently to her full breasts, dark nipples visible through the wet fabric. She felt his gaze burn across her back as she walked away, hips swaying with deliberate grace. Beom-seok loosened his tie, poured 2 glasses of whiskey from the bar, the amber liquid catching the low light. He offered one without a word. Their fingers brushed, electricity snapping between them like the storm outside. Yanique sipped slowly, letting the burn slide down her throat, watching him over the rim. Conversation started polite ambitions, the conference, the merger both their companies desperately wanted, but every word carried weight, every glance lingered too long. She caught the faint scar along his collarbone when his shirt shifted, an old wound that made her wonder what kind of man carried marks like that beneath bespoke suits. Lightning cracked again, and every light in the city vanished. The penthouse plunged into absolute darkness, emergency strips along the floor glowing faint red. Yanique's breath caught. Beom-seok's voice came low and steady from somewhere close. "Stay where you are." A moment later, candle flames flickered to life as he lit the scattered pillars around the room. Shadows danced over his sharp features, turning him into something dangerous and beautiful. The sudden intimacy of candlelight, the roar of rain, the isolation 70 floors above a powerless city, it pressed in on them like a living thing. She moved to the window, palms against cool glass, watching Seoul drown in darkness. He came to stand behind her, close enough that she felt the heat of his body, close enough to smell cedar and storm on his skin. "Beautiful, isn't it?" he murmured. Yanique turned her head slightly, lips curving. Terrifying, actually. His reflection in the glass studied her, eyes dark with something hungry. Fear and beauty often share the same face. Her phone buzzed once on the marble counter, screen lighting with a single message from Thalira. "The plan is in motion. Blackout incoming." Yanique's heart stuttered, but she silenced it quickly, hoping the shadows hid her reaction. Beom-seok's own phone lay dark and dead. No signal, no escape. They were truly alone. He poured more whiskey, handed her the glass, fingers lingering this time. The silence stretched, thick with unspoken want. Yanique felt the weight of her mission. Steal the encrypted merger files from his laptop before dawn. But the heat pooling between her thighs made every rational thought blur. She hated how much she wanted to taste him, hated how her body leaned toward his without permission. Truth or dare began innocently enough, a way to kill hours in the dark. But dares grew bolder. Touch my wrist, trace the inside of my palm, brush hair from my face. Each contact lingered longer, breath growing shallow. When he dared her to describe what she wanted most right now, her voice dropped to a whisper that scraped raw. To forget everything outside this room for one night. His eyes flared, jaw tightening. He stepped closer, backing her slowly until the window met her spine, cold glass against hot skin. Rain hammered outside, thunder rolling like a heartbeat. Beom-seok's hand lifted, thumb brushing her lower lip, parting it gently. Yanique's tongue touched the pad of his thumb without thinking, tasting salt and whiskey. A low sound escaped his throat, almost a growl. The space between them vanished. His mouth claimed hers in a kiss that started slow, deliberate, lips learning the shape of want, then turned ravenous, tongues tangled, teeth nipping, breath stolen and given back hotter. His hands slid under her silk blouse, palms gliding over the bare skin of her waist, thumbs brushing the undersides of her breasts until she arched into him with a soft moan. Yanique fisted his shirt, yanking buttons free, kneading skin against skin. The candlelight painted gold across her deep brown curves as the blouse fell away, revealing lace that barely contained her. Beom-seok's mouth trailed fire down her throat, teeth grazing the pulse, hammering there, tongue soothing the sting. He cupped her breasts, thumbs circling peaked nipples through lace, until she gasped his name, the sound raw and pleading. When he peeled the bra away, cool air kissed her skin a second before his hot mouth closed over one tight peak, sucking hard, tongue flicking relentlessly. Pleasure shot straight to her core, thighs pressing together against the ache building there. She shoved his shirt off his shoulders, nails raking down the hard planes of his chest, tracing every ridge of muscle, feeling him shudder under her touch. Her hands found his belt, tugging impatiently. He lifted her suddenly, hands under her thighs, carrying her to the wide leather sofa without breaking the kiss. Yanique wrapped her legs around his waist, grinding against the rigid length, straining his trousers, drawing a guttural curse from his lips in Korean. Clothes scattered like fallen leaves. Skin finally met skin, her soft curves against his hard lines, contrasting tones glowing in candlelight, deep mahogany against warm ivory. Every touch felt electric, every slide of flesh igniting sparks. His mouth mapped her body slowly, reverently, then desperately, tongue tracing the curve where thigh met hip, teeth nipping sensitive skin until she writhed. When his fingers slipped between her legs, finding her slick and swollen, Yanique cried out, hips bucking into his hand. He stroked her with devastating precision, circling, pressing, sliding inside until she trembled on the edge. "Not yet," he whispered against her throat, voice rough with restraint. He rose above her, eyes locked on hers as he freed himself, thick and heavy in his hand. Yanique reached for him, guiding him to her entrance, legs spreading wider in invitation. The first slow push stole both their breaths, stretching, filling, perfect. He paused, buried deep, forehead pressed to hers, shaking with the effort of holding still. Then she rolled her hips, taking him deeper, and restraint shattered. They moved together in a rhythm ancient and urgent, bodies slick with sweat, candle flames flickering wildly as if matching their pace. Every thrust drove deeper, harder, her nails scoring his back, his fingers bruising her hips. Pleasure coiled tighter, hotter, until Yanique shattered first, clenching around him with a keening cry that echoed through the dark suite. Beom-seok followed seconds later, burying himself to the hilt, groaning her name like a prayer as he spilled inside her. They collapsed together, hearts thundering, limbs tangled, rain still lashing the windows. For a long moment, only their ragged breathing filled the silence. Yanique traced lazy circles on his chest, feeling the rapid beat beneath her palms slow gradually. Guilt flickered at the edges of her mind. She was supposed to be stealing from this man, not losing herself in him, but the warmth of his arms chased it away. Hey, beautiful souls watching this right now. If you're feeling every pulse of this storm with me, every spark between Yanique and Beom-seok, do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. You don't want to miss what happens when the lights come back on. Trust me, it's about to get even wilder. Morning crept in slowly, grey light filtering through rain-streaked glass. Power remained out. City still dark below. They showered together in the marble bath, water cascading over entwined bodies, hands soaping skin with lingering caresses that quickly turned heated again. Against the tiled wall, he lifted her, her back sliding on wet stone as he drove into her once more, slower this time, deeper, eyes never leaving hers. Water mingled with sweat, her moans echoing off marble as another climax built and broke in shuddering waves. Wrapped in plush robes afterward, they shared fruit and coffee from room service, left outside the door sometime in the night. Laughter came easier now, touches casual yet charged. But beneath the ease, tension simmered. Yanique's phone buzzed again, Thalira's name flashing before she silenced it. Beom-seok noticed, eyes narrowing almost imperceptibly. Tell me in the comments. Loves, if you were Yanique, would you confess everything right now? Or would you steal one more night before the truth explodes? As dawn strengthened, emergency lights finally dimmed, meaning power might return soon. Beom-seok stood at the window, robe open, sculpted torso catching pale light. Yanique watched him. Desire and dread twisting together in her chest. She had until the conference began at noon to access his laptop. One encrypted drive held the merger details that could save her family or destroy his. He turned suddenly, catching her stare. The look he gave her was unreadable, something dark and possessive flickering there. Whatever happens when the lights come back, he said quietly, this night was real. Yanique's heart clenched. She wanted to believe him. God help her, she did. If this story is gripping your soul right now, making your heart race and your skin tingle, please subscribe. Turn on notifications, because the next part drops soon. And the betrayals, the jealousy, the raw passion, it's only getting started. Outside, the storm began to ease, rain softening to a whisper against glass. Inside, two lovers dressed slowly, stealing touches, stealing kisses, both knowing the fragile world they'd built in darkness could not survive the coming light. And somewhere in the shadows of the suite, a tiny red light blinked once, the hidden bug recording every moan, every whispered secret, waiting for the perfect moment to destroy them both. If you're not subscribed yet, do it now. You deserve to know how deep this rabbit hole goes. I promise you won't regret it. Dawn light seeped through the massive windows of the penthouse, painting the rumpled silk sheets in soft greys and golds, remnants of melted candles scattered like witnesses to the night's surrender. Yanique lay curled against Beom-seok's chest, her deep brown skin glowing against his warmer tone, legs still entwined, bodies slick and sated from hours of relentless exploration. Every muscle ached deliciously, marked by his mouth, his fingers, his unyielding hunger. She traced the scar on his collarbone again, lips brushing it softly, feeling him stir beneath her touch. He rolled her beneath him in one fluid motion, eyes dark with renewed fire, mouth crashing down on hers in a kiss that tasted of possession and promise. Hands roamed freely now, no hesitation, no restraint. He teased her slowly this time, tongue tracing lazy circles around sensitive peaks until she arched off the bed, begging without words. When he finally slid down her body, parting her thighs with strong hands, his mouth found her core, hot and devastating. Yanique's fingers tangled in his hair, hips grinding against his tongue as waves built higher, faster, crashing over her in a blinding climax that left her trembling, voice hoarse from crying his name. Beom-seok rose, flipping her onto her stomach, pulling her hips up until she knelt before him. The first deep thrust from behind drew a guttural moan from them both, the angle perfect, intense. He set a punishing rhythm, one hand fisted in her hair, the other gripping her waist, skin slapping skin in the quiet dawn. Pleasure bordered on pain, exquisite and overwhelming. She pushed back against every stroke, meeting him thrust for thrust until they shattered together again, collapsing in a heap of limbs and ragged breaths. They dozed briefly, wrapped in each other, but reality crept in with a strengthening light. Power flickered back on suddenly, lights humming to life, air conditioning whispering cool air across heated skin. Beom-seok reached for his laptop on the nightstand, casual at first, then froze. His fingers brushed something small and black taped beneath the edge, a tiny listening device, red light blinking faintly. His expression hardened instantly. Yanique felt ice flood her veins as he held it up between two fingers, eyes turning to her with betrayal sharp as a blade. She sat up slowly, clutching the sheet to her chest, heart pounding. He did not raise his voice, but the quiet fury was worse. Corporate espionage, Yanique, or something more personal? She swallowed hard, mind racing. Denial would insult them both. The truth spilled out in a rush. How her family's company teetered on ruin after his father's conglomerate crushed them years ago. How she had been sent to retrieve the merger files that could save them. How Thalira had orchestrated the blackout to give her access. Beom-seok's jaw clenched, pain flashing behind the anger. He dressed swiftly, every movement precise and cold. Yanique reached for him, fingers brushing his arm, but he pulled away as if burned. Was any of it real? He asked, voice raw. Tears stung her eyes. All of it was real, the wanting, the feeling. That was never part of the plan. He laughed bitterly, grabbing his jacket. Then you're a better actress than I thought. He left without another word, door closing with quiet finality. Yanique sank onto the bed, sobs tearing from her throat, body still humming from his touch, while her heart fractured. She had 1 hour until the conference keynote. Time to finish what she started, or walk away forever. Hey, my loves, if your heart is breaking right now, along with Yanique's, if you're dying to know whether she chooses revenge or redemption, smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You cannot miss what happens next. I promise it will wreck you in the best way. The COEX Convention Center buzzed with thousands of executives, sleek suits, and sharp smiles hiding cutthroat ambitions. Yanique walked the crowded halls in a crimson power suit that hugged every curve, heels clicking like gunfire, dark skin glowing under bright lights, eyes scanning for him. She spotted Beom-seok across the atrium, surrounded by admirers, his face a mask of charming indifference. When their gazes locked, the air crackled with unfinished business, desire and fury tangled tight. The keynote began, rival bids presented on massive screens. Yanique's presentation was flawless, numbers sharp, vision bold, but halfway through, anonymous slides appeared, doctored emails suggesting she had slept her way into confidential meetings. Gasps rippled through the audience. She froze, realizing Thalira had betrayed her too, selling the recordings from the bug for her own advancement. Beom-seok watched from the front row, expression unreadable. Then, shocking everyone, he stood, voice cutting through the chaos. These accusations are baseless and fabricated. Miss Song's integrity is beyond question. The room erupted in whispers. Yanique stared at him, stunned. Why protect her after everything? After the session, he pulled her into a private corridor, backing her against the wall, body inches from hers, heat radiating. 5 years ago, he growled. Busan masked gala, blackout night. You wore emerald silk, tasted like rum and sin. I searched for you ever since, never knowing your name. Yanique's breath caught, memories flooding back. That anonymous stranger who had claimed her body against a hotel balcony railing, the only man who had ever matched her fire until last night. It had been him all along. Tears spilled down her cheeks. "You remembered?" His thumb brushed one away roughly. "Every second. Finding you again, only to learn it was all a lie." His voice cracked. Jealousy flared suddenly as Kylam appeared, sleek and venomous, looping her arm through Beom-seok's. "Darling, we need to talk about these ridiculous rumors." Yanique's blood boiled seeing another woman touch him. "Tell me quick in the comments, gorgeous watchers. If you were Yanique right now, would you fight for him publicly or drag him somewhere private and remind him exactly who he belongs to?" Kylam's smile was poison. "He's mine, always has been." Yanique stepped forward, voice low and lethal. "Then why does he still taste me on his tongue?" Beom-seok's eyes darkened with raw hunger at her words. He shrugged Kylam off, following Yanique as she stormed away, pulse racing with possessive need. Back at the penthouse that evening, storm clouds gathered again, thunder rumbling like an omen. Yanique found a USB drive slipped under her door, Thalira's handwriting on the note, "The real truth." She plugged it in, heart pounding. Files loaded, shocking revelations. Thalira and Kylam were half-sisters, secret blood tie hidden for years, both plotting to destroy Yanique and Beom-seok's companies to seize power for themselves. The blackout, the bug, the leaked slides, all orchestrated by them. Even Yanique's original mission had been manipulated, Thalira feeding her false information about Beom-seok's family, ruining hers. The door burst open. Beom-seok strode in, soaked from rain, eyes wild. "I know everything," he said, holding up his own drive. "My investigators traced the sabotage." Yanique turned the screen toward him, proof glaring. For a moment they stared, realizing they had both been pawns. Lightning flashed as the storm broke anew. Rooftop access door banged somewhere above. They ran, instinct screaming danger. On the windswept roof, rain slashing sideways, Thalira and Kylam waited with armed security, faces twisted with triumph. "You two were always too arrogant," Thalira sneered, gun gleaming in her hand. "Now we take everything." Chaos erupted. Beom-seok shoved Yanique behind an air unit as shots rang out, bullets sparking off metal. He fought like a demon, disarming one guard, fists flying. Yanique grabbed a loose pipe, swinging hard, cracking another across the knees. Rain made everything slick, treacherous. Kylam lunged at Yanique with manic fury, nails raking skin, but Yanique overpowered her, slamming her against the ledge. Thalira aimed at Beom-seok's back. Yanique screamed warning. He spun, bullet grazing his shoulder, blood blooming dark against his shirt. Rage fueled him. He charged Thalira, tackling her, guns skittering across wet concrete. Yanique dove for it, rolling, coming up, aiming, steady despite shaking hands. Security fled into the night, abandoning their employers. Thalira and Kylam, cuffed with their own ties, left for police sirens wailing closer. Beom-seok staggered, blood mixing with rain. Yanique caught him as he sank, pressing her palm to the wound, tears mingling with rain on her face. He cupped her cheek, voice rough. "From that first night in Busan, you owned me. Every year apart was torture. I love you, Yanique, always have." She kissed him fiercely, tasting blood and rain and redemption. Clothes clung transparent, bodies pressed tight as lightning illuminated them, her curves molded to his strength. Hands tore at wet fabric desperately, needing skin, needing proof they survived. He lifted her against the rooftop wall, her legs wrapping his waist, dress ripping under impatient fingers. Rain cascaded over them as he thrust deep, hard, claiming her completely. She rode him with wild abandon, nails digging into his back, moans lost in thunder. Pleasure built savage and swift, exploding in a shared climax that shook them both to the core, bodies locked together as the storm raged on. Later, wrapped in dry robes back inside, wound bandaged, they stood at the window watching dawn break clear over Seoul. Companies saved, enemies defeated, hearts finally aligned. Beom-seok pulled her close, lips brushing her ear. "Marry me, not for mergers, not for revenge, just us." Yanique turned, smiling through tears. "Yes, 1,000 times yes. If this ending has you emotional, breathless, completely obsessed, do not, I repeat, do not miss the next stories coming. Hit subscribe right now, ring that bell, join this family. You deserve every scorching moment. And you, beautiful soul who stayed until the very last word, drop a heart in the comments if Yanique and Beom-seok earned their happy ending. Tell me which scene burned hottest in your memory. Thank you for riding this storm with me. Eclipse of Secrets is complete, but our journey together is just beginning. See you in the next story, loves. Stay fierce, stay subscribed.